Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel.
Hi guys.
Well, we are inside today because it's a pretty cold and blustery day out there. And they're predicting some snow later today.
Yeah,
Tonight. So,
into tomorrow morning.
Yeah. So not a lot, 2-3 inches, no. But the cold is the big thing.
Just enough to make a mess.
It is just enough to make a mess. So we thought it would be interesting with just over 2 months till we move down to the Ozarks of Arkansas, where our homestead property is, to kind of break down our costs.
I can't believe that it's going to be that fast, too.
Yeah, it's coming right up. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through our costs from buying the property all the way to where we are now and what the cost us, including our trips down to go down there and do the work.
Yeah, because we're still in Connecticut right now.
That's right. So we are in Connecticut. Our property is in north central Arkansas. We are in the northeast corner of Connecticut. It is 1,400 miles one way from our house here to our property down there. So for those of you who may be thinking of doing this and are willing to go outside your region to find property and want to take something of this on, it's good to have the costs of what it's going to cost for you to go down. So before we get started, we have to give a couple of caveats, I guess. We are doing this entire endeavor from a debt-free standpoint. We're not taking any loans.
No.
We don't have a house that we're selling and getting equity from. We rent here at the summer camp for kids. So this is completely on our savings.
That's one of the reasons why we chose to do it the way that we're doing it, with the 3-year plan kind of thing.
With the 3-year plan from purchase date to move on date was to give us room to continue to save and make all this infrastructure happen and have a little bit of money to live on when we get down there, because we're not planning on taking outside jobs when we get down there. Getting the farm up and running and the homestead up and running is our main priority. Let's dive right into it. So we bought our property in August, beginning of September of 2020. We bought 5.19 acres of raw land, nice and flat. And we paid $10,000 or $2,000 an acre for that land. There was no infrastructure on the land, but the land was not landlocked. There was a county road with power and water accessibility. We had to have them installed, but they were there. So if you're buying land, one of the things you're going to want to look out for is landlocked land. If you're looking for cheap land, landlocked land is very cheap, but there's no right-of-way access. So we opted to go with something with a right-of-way access. Another thing that you want to look into when you're looking for your land is the farther that you get away from population zones and the farther you get away from the interstate,
the more rural you are.
The more rural you are, the cheaper that land is going to be. So you need to really ask yourself, what are you looking for in your land? If you still want, several restaurants and shopping and those kind of things readily available to you, you're going to pay more even for raw, untreated land than you would, say, in the scenario where we bought, where it's extremely rural, and that's what we wanted. And the next county over has, you know, decent services. There's a Walmart and there's all that. But the Home Depot's an hour and a half one way away.
Yeah.
You know, things are farther away and they're spread out more, and that tends to make the purchase of land cheaper.
It does.
So, 5.19 acres, $10,000. Now, we made 5 trips down, including the first trip to scout the land and purchase it. 3 of those trips were a 1-week trip, and 2 of those trips were a 2-week trip. The average cost for our trips, which includes fuel, accommodations, and food, is an average of $1,500 a trip. It was a little bit less when it was a 1-week trip, because it's
food.
Less food, less accommodations, less fuel costs when we were there, and but it was higher on the 2-week trips.
Yeah.
So, but the average is $1,500.
So one of the things that we wanted to first consider with the land is that we wanted to figure out how much we needed to clear and where we were going to put everything.
And actually what part of the property we wanted to try and get clear.
And actually what part of it, because we did kind of stay over to the left side of our property, if you're looking for
yes,
from the road.
to the southern side of the property.
Yeah.
Yes, we did. So what we did was we went in February on a trip down to walk the entire property, and we went in February because it was heavily overgrown.
We were hoping that, we would avoid all of the bugs.
Bugs, ticks, a lot of the underbrush that had grown up in the summertime would be down and compact. Unfortunately, it was the worst snowstorm in 50 years down there.
Yeah.
But that's okay. We got it done. We got in there.
We were able to walk the whole boundary line and mark off where we wanted it all cleared.
That's right. And we got it all marked. And the reason we did that was that way we could come back home and reach out to contractors, and they could go in there and survey the part that we had marked off without us necessarily needing to be there and come up with a price. So one of the contractors that actually came out while we were there in the snowstorm, Lawrence Excavating and Tree Trimming, actually got the job. So what they did was they came in, cut into the land, cleared the area that we wanted cleared, threw all the brush down, and there's like a little washout that runs through one side of our property.
We call it a little gully, but...
Gully, yeah. And
eventually we might turn it into a pond, you never know.
We may, but that's well into the future. And then they stacked all of the lumber for us because we plan to use that lumber to build our home and build any outbuildings, build anything we need to build. And they did all that for a total of $6,000.
Yeah.
That was a very good price, and frankly, I was very happy with the work that they did.
They did an excellent job.
So.
And like put in a driveway area through the front of our property.
Yes.
So that we'd have easy access.
Yes. So in the front of our property, there is the road, and there's a small tree line, and then the power lines. And through there, from the power line to the road, they cut us in a road, a small driveway. The issue was that the water main for the county ran out along the front of our property on the road, and then 35 feet in was the tree line. So dropping trees there was not really an easy thing that we could do, and we couldn't push the trees over because we didn't want
Yeah.
when the stumps came
lines
out to rip out the county
Yeah.
line, and then we were responsible for the county line. So we just dropped a few trees and put in a small driveway, and all of that was included. So the next thing that we had to do was get a perk test, and Gil came out and he did the perk test, and the perk test cost us $400, and that included our state permit for our septic system. Now we also contracted Gil to put in the septic system.
Yep.
And he put in a septic system and a frost-free up by the road because he needed water for the install. And that was $4,300.
Yeah.
So septic and perk test and the initial hookup for water after the county ran our meter out was $4,700. Now, I just said the county put their hookup in. So the water line for the county runs out by our road. The county came in and they hooked into that and ran 5-10 feet onto our property from their right-of-way access on the front of our property. And they put in a meter, a box, and a shutoff valve.
Yep.
Gil hooked up to that, and he left an outlet for us to be able to tie into to get all the way out to where our house is going to be and any other water we needed to run. And that cost us $1,000 for the county to come out and do that.
And yes, originally we talked about getting a well too, but that really wasn't in our budget, so
no.
That's pretty much why we're going with the county water right now.
That's right. So county water is a relatively consistent source of water, but it comes with a bill that you pay by the gallon for your water. Now, well water, on the other hand, you're really only paying for the installation of the well and the small amount of electricity you're going to use to run your pump and so on and so forth. But wells do run dry. And there's no guarantee of the price for digging a well. It's a per foot or per 100-foot price that the welling company is going to charge you. And if they hit water at 125 feet, fantastic. They may have to drill 500-600 feet to hit water. And with an unknown price, we felt that county water was the better way to go. We can always drill a well later on and have both sources.
And once we're on our homestead, we're going to try to do a lot of water catchment.
That's correct.
That will supplement a lot of our water.
That's correct. So we ran all of our own water from that hookup.
The hose. The water hose.
Yeah, the water line. Underground. We did all the trenching. We installed all the line. We put in 3 frost frees and a hookup where the house is going to be. We did all of that ourselves. So with the ditch witch, which we used to dig our trench.
Well, that was a rental.
Which was a rental. And all of our supplies, our water line, our frost free, our connections, that came to $800, and that was a total of 400 feet of line and 3 frost frees and assorted connections and shutoffs. Next, we have our foundation. Now, our foundation is a sonotube foundation. There are 16 piers that our house is going to sit on. Our house is going to be 24 by 36. And those are buried at least 2 feet deep, which is 8 inches below the frost line for our area. So they should be fine. We had to rent an auger again for digging those.
Dig the holes,
And with the auger, and our sonotubes are rock and the cost for a cement truck to come out and our rebar, that was $1,000.
Yeah.
And our foundation was in.
And it was well worth $1,000.
Yes.
Because
yes, it was.
I didn't want to mix all that cement.
Yeah, and we would have had to rent a cement mixer.
Yeah.
The cost of the cement, I think, was $320 for the truck and the man, and he was there an hour.
Yeah. He
An
was
hour,
very efficient. He knew exactly what he was doing.
Yep.
Got it all done.
And we got it done real quick. So foundation is in. Next we have power. So like I said, we have the power lines that run across the front of our property.
So yeah, our power line that runs through the front of our property sits about 30 feet off of our road.
That's right.
Yeah.
So the county power co-op will run basically a quarter mile of line with needed poles for free if you are building a house at least 650. It's either 650 square feet or 800 square feet.
Oh, the square footage of the house.
Yes.
It's 850 square feet.
850 square feet. And we are over 850 square feet.
Yes.
And once our foundation was poured, we're establishing ourselves as a permanent structure.
Yeah.
And they would run that for free. Here's the caveat. They did run the cable and the 2 poles for free and tied in and ran back to where the house is going to be. But it was $480 for the service that comes down to a 200 amp service.
The box.
Yeah, and the meter.
Yep.
And so we have 120 power right there with one outlet. I will install more when we get down there. So electric was one of our lower costs, $480.
Yeah, not bad.
That was not too bad.
No.
Next comes fertilizer. We actually laid fertilizer out in 3 different applications. The first application is when we sowed tall fescue.
Yeah, we had the grasses.
And to get something established on the land to keep land from eroding away. And that was just lime and tall fescue and a little nitrogen that we had applied.
Yeah, we did put nitrogen.
The second application, which was a major application, we used a buggy. That was a primarily lime application. We did not add any more cover crop because we did that in June, July, and it wasn't really the right time, and it was unbearably hot. Anything we tried to sow at that point would have just fried. There was no rainwater. There was nothing. And I knew that I would be coming back several months later because that's when we were going to do our 3rd and final amendments to our soil, our enrichment phase of it. And in that we added all of our nutrients, nitrogen and calcium and potassium and all of that. And I also sowed a multi-variety cover crop because we're now into mid-September and getting close to their rainy season and the time that was the right time around there to fertilize all that. So our total costs for all 3 fertilizing and for him to, we had a guy come and he dropped and spread chicken manure, which is organic matter, which will help our soil, was a total of $900. Next we have sowing our ground cover, which was our cheapest expense.
Yeah.
And I was about $225. It was not that bad at all. Last couple of items, we put up a fence along the front edge of our property, and we put in 2 access gates just to keep people from thinking that was an area that they could go into.
Yeah, once we cleared it.
Once we cleared it, we felt it was appropriate to create some kind of a barrier because we weren't going to be around. And frankly, we didn't really know any of our neighbors at the time. So, fences and gates cost us $800.
Yeah. I'm sure that cost will go up.
That cost will change, but this is what it cost us to this date.
Mm-hmm.
So our final item is a sawmill. So as I said before, we stacked all of the lumber, which is a loblolly pine. It's a tall, long needle pine, southern pine.
A lot of straight logs.
A lot of very long, very straight logs with very few knotty branches coming out of them. So it should be very good, and that lumber has been sitting since August of 2021. So we bought a sawmill, and the sawmill with all the things that I will need to be able to so that I will be able to make all my lumber out of that timber was $5,200. All right, so these are our costs. I'll give you the total in 1 second, but this is purchasing the land, clearing it,
all our trips down,
installing septic system, water, and power, getting our soil ready to grow crops in, and setting us up with some perimeter fencing and the sawmill to build our home and all of our rest of our infrastructure.
Yes.
Came to a total of $33,205. Because we are doing this debt-free, and we're committed to doing it debt-free, we spread these costs out over this last couple of years instead of just buying our property and going down there and roughing it until we could get these things in. And I'm really happy we did it this way.
Yeah, I'm glad we did it this way too. That time that we were able to save, get this infrastructure ready, also allowed us to get a little bit better with our homesteading skills.
Correct.
That really gave us a lot of time to.
All right, guys. Well, thanks a lot for watching. We hope you enjoyed this. We hope you got some kind of information from it that will be helpful to you. If you can hit that subscribe button, hit that like, and hit that bell, it'll let you know every time we got a video coming out.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
We'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.